George from NBA Hockey.
I'm Jeff from NHL Analysis.
I'm Jack from Puck Analytics.
And welcome back to Triple Shift. Today we're going to be talking about the losers of the NHL. So there you go. Jesus, that was bad.
It's plain and simple.
Yeah. We're going to be going over.
You're a loser.
Wow, Jack. Wow.
Thank you. We're going to be going over the non-playoff teams today. And then next week we'll be covering the playoff brackets, and we'll go through our predictions and everything. If you're a fan of one of the teams that missed the playoffs, this is the episode for you, because we're probably going to rip on your team.
Yeah. Okay.
And which division do you guys want to start with? I'll let you pick.
Doesn't matter to me.
Well, that's not.
Let's start with West.
The West.
Yeah, I was about to say we can start with the West because they suck.
All right,
They're terrible. They're all bad.
It's the Honda West division, actually.
Oh, right. Forgot we're doing
I'm
ads.
so sorry.
That's okay.
That's not
You're 100% getting paid for this by mentioning them.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the name of the division, according to NHL.com. The Honda West. Anyway, so we'll start with the Arizona Coyotes. They just missed the playoffs. They finished their season at 24, 26, and 6 with a points percentage of .482. And the Coyotes, let me pull up their cap-friendly page because I didn't do that. Arizona almost made the playoffs this year. I think that's kind of where I expected them to be. It was just kind of a bubble team. And, what were your guys' overall thoughts on the Coyotes this year? Disappointed or not?
I honestly didn't really watch any Coyotes games this year.
Yeah, I think I watched like 3
because
season, to be honest with you.
I really don't watch teams like that because they're kind of boring. Like, no offense to the fans out there, but like if I'm gonna turn on a different team's game, I'm not gonna watch the Coyotes. So I don't really know what input I could give on them.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I watched more than 3 games, I will say that, but I only really watched because I did a post on Connor Garland, and I wanted to watch a lot of him.
He was really good this year, by the way.
Yeah, he was awesome. Him and Jacob Chikrin, who is also really good.
Yeah.
And of course, they're 2 goaltenders. Too bad Kemper got hurt, but yeah, I didn't watch a ton of the Coyotes. Definitely not like relative to the other teams that I watched. But they're just kind of a middling team with not great offensive firepower. Tockett's leaving. It's just been you're just kind of stuck in mediocrity, and that's that. Really, there's not much else to really talk about. It was an interesting season for them with the whole the ownership problems and the front office issues and draft problems with their picks and Mitchell Miller, and it was just an absolute mess. But there wasn't much. In terms of their play, there wasn't much exciting stuff going on outside of Chikrin and Garland and Keller. Keller had a good year, I will admit that.
Keller was really good this season.
Yeah.
They don't have their first this year because of the tampering thing, and they don't have their third this year either because they traded it for Taylor Hall, I believe. So it's not like they have a ton of draft capital. They do have 2 seconds. Not sure who they gave up to Columbus for the second round pick, but whatever. They do have Columbus a second. As for contracts, Alex Goligoski and Nicholas Jarmelson are probably the 2 biggest names. I guess Antti Ranta too, and Aiden Hill, who's a RFA. But other than that, there really isn't a ton of guys this team has to focus on. Connor Garland's an RFA, but I expect there are. Like, UFA-wise, there's not really anything for this team to worry about. They're just kind of a middling team. I think them being a borderline playoff team was basically what we expected, especially in this division. I really only watched them when they were playing more interesting teams like Colorado and Minnesota. So I saw them get their face beaten in a couple times. But yeah, I mean, Clayton Keller, if he can repeat what he did this year, he might start making that $7 million contract look better. But yeah, other than that, I mean, Garland was great. Dvorak had a really good season. If those guys keep developing and this team can bring in some prospects, Arizona could maybe be a fringe playoff team again next year. But like especially in again a weaker Pacific Division. Or I guess they're in the Central next year, right?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, they're gonna get bodied. Never mind.
Yeah.
They're gonna finish last. That which might actually be good for them because next year is a really good draft. So and they do have their first next season. So yeah, they're not gonna make the playoffs in the Central next season. So yeah, I mean the Coyotes pretty boring team, fringe playoff team as we kind of expected.
In the Central.
The next team here is one that I was actually really intrigued in going to this season. That's the LA Kings. LA still has 2 games left, but they're 21, 26, and 7 as of right now with a .454 points percentage. Like I said, 2 games left, but they are eliminated from the playoffs. LA was a sleeper team for me going into the season. They had a really good. They were a pretty solid XG team last season, and they kind of kept that up somewhat this season. They have a ton of picks coming up too, and the Kings were really fun from what I watched. I don't know how much you guys paid attention to the bottom half of this division, but I did watch a fair amount of the Kings, and I'm excited for next season for them. Is how I'll put it.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch how their prospects develop, like Byfield, all those guys. I watched a few games, and it's just nice seeing that such a young players succeed in some of their top 6 roles or wherever. It kind of sucks that they are going to be handicapped by that Doughty contract, but overall, I think they're going to be a pretty fun team in the future and next year.
Yeah, the only thing I really disliked about Kings this year was the amount of people advocating that Doughty was somehow an elite defenseman because he was getting secondary assists on the power play. That was really the only frustrating thing about the Kings this season. It wasn't even really Doughty's fault. It was just annoying from a hockey watcher's perspective who looks at stats and is clearly inflated. But yeah, like you guys said, they were a fun team. Anze Kopitar did his thing.
Oh, he was great this year.
He was. I absolutely love Kopi. He's one of a kind. He's unreal. He's just first he's a great person, but second he's just an absolute joy to watch on both ends of the ice. And then guys like Matt Roy, he's obviously he's a little bit under the radar, but he makes an impact. Adrian Kempe, he's electric. He's not great, but he's electric. He at least helps, bring some life to that lineup. And then Dustin Brown, he scored a lot. That's all I really need to say about that. He just put the puck in the back of the net. But yeah, and they also have prospects like you mentioned, Byfield. One guy I'm interested in is Simon Tyvel. I like him a lot. I don't think he played this year, but he's just a guy that I'm really interested in and seeing how he develops. So yeah, I look forward to their future, and I like what I don't have anything negative to say about them outside of the fans need to stop acting like Doughty's a top 20 defenseman.
Yeah. I think LA is a team for me to really watch this offseason because if they want to be aggressive, I think they can throw together the best package for Jack Eichel. And really them or the Rangers are kind of my 2 teams to really, like, if they wanted to go all in. I think nobody can compete with what those 2 teams can offer. And I don't think that'd be necessarily a bad move for the Kings, but either way, the Kings prospect pool is insane. And a lot of those guys will be coming up, and I like how they kind of let Byfield kind of like marinate in the minor league, and this season didn't force him up into the team. And I mean, like you said, Dustin Brown may have played well enough that the final year of his contract is now movable, which would be kind of helpful if the Kings wanted to get some decent assets back for that, or they can just hold on to him, whatever. But I think the most impressive player for me for the Kings this year is probably Cal Peterson. really taking over that, moving into that starting role for the Kings. I'm pretty sure he split games pretty evenly with Quick, but he was definitely the better overall goalie this season. And it was really cool to see that transition happen for this team right as like they were about to, I think, turn the corner. So yeah, again, I'm really excited to watch the Kings next year. I don't think their division is going to be particularly difficult because I think both Calgary and Vancouver are kind of going to be transitioning, and Anaheim and San Jose are also rebuilding. So again, they could be a sneaky playoff team next year. So,
Love Cal Peterson so much.
Just
he's so fun.
Yeah, no, he was really good this year. So moving on to the other two California teams, the San Jose Sharks, who are in a lot worse of a situation than the LA Kings, I guess, is the way to put it here. Once again, a down season from what Sharks fans have been used to the last decade or so, and the cap situation isn't going to get much better this summer. A lot of long-term ugly contracts on this team and not a lot of money to play with, especially with the flat cap. The San Jose Sharks, where are we on what the Sharks did this year?
Watching Carlson and Burns was pretty horrible sight to see. But yeah, those contracts aren't going to help them. I guess it was kind of nice seeing how Kane rebounded a bit. Hurdle looked good, and so did Meyer. They're all great players. They have a good prospect pool. They'll probably be just as bad next year, which is good for them. They need high picks. They want to turn this around, but those bad contracts are definitely going to fuck them over in the future.
Yeah, kind of just to reiterate, they look like a team that's like built to win now, but they're not. And they're cap constraints because they signed guys to big contracts. One thing that would really help them this offseason that we should look for is if they make Brent Burns available in the expansion draft. I actually wrote about that a while ago. I think it'd be super important to the future of that franchise to unload the Burns contract, even if that means making a side deal with Seattle. Somebody needs to take that contract, and that seems to be the best option for them. Erik Karlsson, I hate it because he's so talented, but he's just I don't even know what's going on with him anymore. It's just been really hard to watch. Sometimes he shows flashes of 2016-17 Erik Karlsson, and other times he looks like a hobbled grandmother out there. Like he's just, it's just unfortunate because he's supremely talented and he was a joy to watch in his prime. And it's not even like he's like super old, like he's older, but he's not to the point where it's like Pecorine age where he's like 38. He still has a little bit of juice left in him. At 30, that's not anything to scoff at. It's just, I think the Sharks could be getting a lot more out of him if they put a better team around him, or if they just the system optimized what he can bring. But other than that, Martin Jones went on that weird run where he was actually a good goaltender and then fell off. And then John Leonard was good. I liked watching him. He was fun. Obviously, Evander Kane had that whole bankruptcy situation and that debt and crap. I haven't even kept up with that situation, but yeah, it was a really weird year for the Sharks, just from my perspective. Some of the stuff that you expected to happen did happen, and then other random stuff kept happening, and it was just kind of like they're the one team that you really wouldn't expect it to happen to at this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna transition over. I put a thing up on my my story on Instagram. Go follow me, NBA Hockey, by the way. About questions for for this episode. One of the questions I got was about Thomas Hertl, so I guess I'll lead into it kind of with the thought process, I guess, the commenter was going for. And I'll start with my own question, I guess. How many years away do you think the Sharks are from being a playoff team at this point? If you had to put a number on it.
4 or 5.
Yeah, probably 4 or 5. I mean, it's going to take a while. It might be longer than that.
They have solid prospects, but those guys still need to develop, and then they have to get rid of these contracts. So probably 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of.
The problem is like relative to the league, their prospect pool is like not great. Like it's on the lower half.
It's fine.
I mean, for a team that's built the way it is, their prospect pool should either be really good or really bad when they're winning, and they're not winning, and their prospect pool kind of sucks.
But I mean, they were so good for so long.
That's true.
So
yeah.
I kind of don't expect them to have the best prospect pool.
I'd
say
they're
like
moved out a lot of picks though either. Like they were never like the Rangers where they were just dumping first round picks every season. Like they didn't really do a ton of like big deadline splashes, especially like in the prime.
Their drafting wasn't really like
their drafting.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Drafting wasn't bad, but I think my thing is like I don't remember coming out of a draft in recent memory saying, dude, the Sharks totally won. Like they got a bunch of steals. I think they just kind of did
2020
okay.
They did really well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm just saying like
But like any other draft now, they haven't really done much.
Yeah, it's just been kind of
they've had maybe 1 or 2 good picks.
There just hasn't been like those guys that come out of nowhere, you know? Like I mean, that's obviously some luck too.
Well,
it's not all just
not every team's gonna get a point, but
yeah.
Yeah, no, you get where I'm going with this.
No, exactly. But the question originally was, do you trade Thomas Hertl this offseason? He's 27. He has a year left on his deal after this, and then he's a UFA. His cap hit is 5.6. So even if you wanted to, you could probably eat a significant portion of that for the one season. I think you can get a lot back for Thomas Hertl, especially if you eat half of that.
Yeah.
And he's 27. Like he's not going to be. He'll be like early to mid 30s by the time this team's really.
He'll be past his prime. At that point.
I think it's kind of like an Anthony Mantha situation in Detroit.
Get a boatload of assets back, or get one player plus more assets back. Younger player for sure. I think.
I think you have to at the very least, test the market.
Yeah.
Even if that just means like throwing his name in. Like you have to do something along those lines because if you're the Sharks, you have to figure out a way. And it also, I mean, at that point, you've either unloaded the Burns contract or you haven't, so you know where you stand with that.
Yeah. Do you think
at that point?
Do you think Thomas Hertl would be a big enough, get for a team like Seattle, for instance, to look at the Burns contract? Because Burns is 36. Like he's not going to play through the rest of that deal.
Yes, I mean Hertl's the number 1 center right now. Depending on where Seattle takes it in the draft, he's definitely the guy that you could look for if you're willing to take on that Burns deal.
Yeah, that's probably what. Yeah,
I think that's a really fascinating look because I mean the $8 million for Burns is a lot, but it's not like the Carlson it's not like you can work around the Burns contract for another 2 or 3 years until he retires. Like because he's 36 now,
you could deal with it.
He's not playing another 5 seasons.
If you shelter him on your second pair and play him top unit power play or something, you could work around it.
Yeah, and then you get Thomas Hertl,
who's your number 1 center.
I think that's a really fascinating idea. But yeah, so the Sharks team who could be interested in this offseason. And finally, in the Honda West division, we have the Anaheim Ducks, who again were kind of a mess this season, but have a lot of really good prospects coming up. So I'm kind of not worried about them. I think this was kind of just the year they needed to just bottom out, and I expect them to just kind of keep going with the plan here and just play the kids up and see where things go. But where are you guys? Anaheim.
Just the same thing. Let those prospects go. Zegras and Drysdale have both been I mean, they haven't been good, but they've been impressive for how old they are on their team and how bad Anaheim is. So I would just keep letting them play in like their top 4, top 6 roles, and just let the prospects roll in. Keep tanking for a top pick and trade away your older players that won't be around for the prime of this team.
Yeah, this year I actually wanted to watch the Ducks. Usually I don't, just because we're good. Trevor Zegras is an absolute joy. Absolutely love him. He's just like on and off the ice. The guy is an absolute talent. Like he's
so much fun.
The epitome of what you want a hockey player to be. Like he's got the emotion. He's got swagger. He's got everything. Obviously, they brought in Jamie Drysdale, who he's so good. Like there's literally nothing else to explain. He's literally just so good. And then I love Isaac Lundestrom. He's super fun. Max Comtois was killing it this year. It was just like they were actually fun to watch. The only thing that really hurts me is John Gibson. He's obviously struggled, and it's not really his fault, even though people are going to blame him for it. That's the only thing about the Ducks that really pains me, other than the glare from Ryan Getzlaf's head. Just it's just kind of they're a fun team outside of a couple things, and I'm interested to see who they pick this year because that could make them even more watchable.
Yeah, they have a ton of cap space next season too. Like his Getzlaf's contract's coming off the books, the Backus contract's coming off the books. I guess Ryan Miller was only making $1 million, so that's not a big deal there.
Also Ryan Miller. I love Ryan Miller.
That's really cool. Both him and Rene retiring is you're losing two guys who have been around for like forever.
Just an FYI, Rene has not retired yet officially.
Yeah, he's not coming back next year. I'm sorry to tell you.
I'm just saying it's still possible. He's been talking to both David Poyle and his hometown team in Oulun Karpat. So
fair enough.
It's still up in.
But for the Ducks, just a couple RFAs they need to sign. Steele, Jones, and Comtois need to all get signed. I don't see any big. I guess Danton Heinen too. I don't see anything more than like $2 to $3 million cap hits for each of them. So they're gonna have like $13-14 million to play with here. And of course they could trade Raquel, which I still think is probably the best move for this team at this point. And they could be a team that takes on one of those bad contracts. You know, they could be a team that calls up like a San Jose and talks to them about Burns, or I guess that's division rival. You might not want to give them a hand with that, but just in general, right? They could be a team that calls up Montreal and takes one of those contracts on, or like there's a lot of flexibility here in Anaheim, and I like that, especially for a team that's rebuilding. A lot of people are talking about like the Ottawas and Detroits and LAs as being kind of the next like big like good rebuild teams. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Ducks. I think this team has a lot of potential, and they're gonna have a lot of flexibility this year. They could bring in a bunch of assets, and if they do this thing right, they're gonna be really interesting. And like you said, I like Zegras and I like Drysdale, and I expect next year to be another kind of dumpster fire of a season. But I think that's probably for the best. And I think that. Not next year, but the year after is when we kind of see that almost like the LA Kings turnaround from this season with Anaheim. But yeah, I like how they're doing this. I think they're doing this rebuild right, and they have a lot of really nice pieces already. So yeah, so that's it for the Honda West division. I guess we'll just go in order from NHL.com because you guys picked the one at the top. And we'll move over to the Discover Central division. So I really hope they keep these brand deal names. This is so much fun.
No, it's not.
Discover Central. The defending Stanley Cup runner-ups, the Dallas Stars, missed the playoffs, which was shocking to pretty well nobody in the analytics community, I feel. because we all said how this team completely overachieved last year, and to be low on them. And Jeff's
That
really
is
happy
fine,
because
baby.
the mediocre
Jeff,
That
Nashville
is fine,
Predators
baby.
Jeff,
are going to get
Jeff
absolutely body slammed
himself.
by the Carolina Hurricanes in round 1, and it's going to be
Body
slam.
You know what? Cannot wait. I cannot wait to win one more game than the Dallas Stars in this year's playoffs. One more.
23, 19, and 14 were the Dallas Stars for 60 points, a 536 points percentage. Definitely those 14 OT losses are what sank the Stars this season, and that was pretty much going on like the entire year. Like this team, I think they were like 11, 11, and 10 or something at one point, and it was just insane. They just couldn't finish a game off in OT.
They have so many loser points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy crap! 14.
Yeah, that's what killed them. They also like didn't play at all in the first like month and a half of the season. So, really a fascinating team. Dallas was this year. Like I said, a lot of people in the analytics community weren't impressed with their cup run last season. Me being one of them. I actually predicted them to miss the playoffs this year, so I'm very happy.
I did too.
Very proud of myself. But yeah,
I
had them at 4. I think I had Florida missing. I don't know, it was one of those two. Like they were kind of my two teams battling for the spot. Either way,
I gotta see where I had them.
I don't even remember.
Not feeling bad.
But yeah, Dallas.
I had them missing just out of spite.
Two. They're going to be another team kind of stuck in that Central Division next year.
Oh, they're so boring. I hate the Central Division.
This team, yeah,
so boring.
Dallas isn't a fun. Like I don't know. They've never really been an interesting team for me.
Nothing about their team. They're like a defensive team that's not that great defensively.
And then their sucks. Like
then their offense game is kind of boring. At this point, like Ben and Seguin aren't really in their primes anymore. So
Tyler Seguin's making $9.8 million on the current deal he's on right now.
Ben's making 9.5
till 26, 27, and Ben signed till 25, 26.
Yeah.
Rupe Haynes, Jason Robertson, John Klingberg, and Miro Heiskanen are the only 4 things that I enjoy about Dallas.
Yeah, that's
Miro's
future
boring.
Calder winner, Jason
Miro
Robinson, but to you, by the way.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Jeff, get it right.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
I do kind of like what Dallas has like as a younger roster here, but I really think those Seguin and Ben contracts are gonna be like anchors on this roster in like a year and a half, and it's gonna cause issues for them. I mean, Ben Bishop he played okay this season. I don't know. I'm not too impressed with this team. They're probably gonna lose one of their goalies to Seattle. Yeah, I don't know if the team makes the playoffs next year either, to be honest with you. I think they'll be in a fight with like teams like Winnipeg and Chicago and Nashville and St. Louis, and then whoever gets out of that
division's so boring.
Yeah, it's just gonna be Colorado just destroying everybody.
Minnesota.
Say what you want. Say what you want about the Pacific Division. The Central Division has to be the most boring division in hockey.
It's just a bunch of mediocre teams. Like that's all it is. It's just Colorado,
Besides
Minnesota,
Colorado,
and then just
it's so boring.
Tweeners.
Kind of angry Tampa won't be there anymore. To be honest, that'd be awesome. That'd be so fun. It was Colorado, Tampa, Minnesota, and then like Florida. Like if those 2 teams stayed and the rest left, it'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, just seeing Tampa.
But of course,
Colorado
the division sucks.
But yeah, the Central is going to be kind of a mess. I don't think. I mean, unless Dallas does something crazy this year, I don't know if they make the playoffs next year again.
You get Winnipeg back at
They're
least.
not going to.
That's true. That's true.
Winnipeg, just full of overrated bums. Exactly what they want.
Hey, Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah.
Hellebuck is a beauty.
And
Connor.
Nick Ehlers. We love Nick Ehlers too. It's not.
We do.
Jets best forward. He's 5th most deployed forward for the Jets this year, but that's okay.
They really got
Dallas has like no pick. Like literally, the next 3 years of picks for the Stars are only their picks. They have no like other team. Like they've made no trades for like, and they have every one of their picks too. I've never seen a team like this before.
I mean, like
like 1-7 for the next 3 drafts. It's just
They're
one
just the
tight draft.
most middle ground team there's ever been, I
This
guess.
seems insanely boring.
They don't push. They don't tank. They just kind of float around.
It's
I
that's
don't
the,
know.
like I think, and we talked about this last week a little bit. Well, at least I did with like getting more like offensive coaches and like getting almost like a Kyle Shanahan type of coach like in the NHL. I think Dallas would be a really good fit for like just an all out offensive coach. Like they have a lot of like interesting players, especially young guys. I think if they could find somebody who could like utilize the offense, like almost like maybe a Paul Maurice, like where you just run like just no defense whatsoever. And obviously you'd have to better utilize players, but like this team could be really fun. But they're another team that just plays a really boring like trap hockey, and it just sucks.
4 players I named: Miro, Klingberg, Miro, Klingberg, Hintz, and Robertson. Can you imagine those guys in like Sheldon Keefe's system?
Yeah, and they
Like
have
that would be so
Gurianov
fun.
and Radulov and like even Sagan.
Yeah, those.
Like,
I mean, those guys barely
man,
played. Like, I mean,
like that would be so like just let these guys play. Like, I don't know. That's the problem with the NHL though. Is like their coaches are always happy with the 2-1 like gritty win. They're like, oh, we just didn't get the bounce. It's nonsense.
yeah, we rode that one out to the end. We fought and battled hard.
It's
On
like,
pucks in the corners, you know, all that
like,
crap.
shut up. Nobody wants to watch that on Tuesday night. Like,
Yeah, no, it's not a fun brand of hockey.
I don't want to watch.
I'm sure it's fun for the devoted fans who are paying your salaries, but it's not fun for the rest of the world.
Speaking of really fun teams who don't play defense, the Chicago Blackhawks were a team that everybody thought was going to make a magical run to the playoffs, and then Kevin Lankinen stopped being Dominic Hasek, and they started losing a lot.
Thunk it?
56 games, they finished 24, 25, and 7. 55 points, 491 points percentage, just about at that 500 mark. And Chicago, kind of like the entirety of the Central Division, just kind of a mediocre team. Nothing great coming up in the pipeline. Although they don't have really an anchor of a contract on their roster. Obviously Duncan Keith is bad, but it's only got 3 years left on it. Brent Seabrook retired. Even Patrick Kane, like Kane and Taves both have 3 years left on their deals. Like those aren't.
But they're making 10.5.
Yeah, but it's not like.
But I guess they're not.
Like 2 years after this year, so they have next year and the year after. It's really not that bad. They have nobody signed past like 23, 24.
I mean, they have Kirby Doc still, and then
Riley Stillman is the only player on this team who is signed in 23, 24. That's it.
Great news for Chicago.
Yeah, like they can completely rebuild this roster. I don't think they will, but they could.
I think they will. I don't see why they wouldn't. They have Doc, and they just have to. And the Brinket's actually still pretty young.
Yeah, they just have
They
to.
just have to have. Yeah, that's all it is. And they love to pull random players out of
the KHL.
Yeah. So
they just have to keep them
they
around
could
for
surprise
more than 3
teams
years.
in a few years. Yeah. I mean, they could surprise teams, I feel like, in a few years.
As much as I hate the Blackhawks, I will say their future does look fun.
That's it. That's what you got for us.
Hey, there's not much else to say, you know? I mean, I like Doc. I think he's fun. I don't think he's better than Byram, but I like Doc. Let's see what else we got. Hugh Suter, he's
Jeff saying nice things about the Blackhawks segment of the show.
Fun. Yeah, this is the best I got. Patrick Kane he's interesting.
He's a hockey player.
Didn't play a lick of defense, but you know what? It's all right. Just kidding. No, it's not. The one guy.
Patrick Kane is not a fun hockey player.
Wait, what?
That is incorrect.
He is not a fun hockey player. I will not watch him.
No,
you're lying.
I'm not lying. I'll watch him.
Cap.
I'll watch him sometimes, but I don't like watching him.
That's a nonsense.
Patrick Kane, when he plays against the Nashville Predators, is not a fun hockey player because he has sucked recently against them.
Hearing everything people say about him, like, it just pisses me off to watch him sometimes. Like people consider him a top 5 player. I don't know. It just kind of ruins it for me.
I just kind of throw that out the door, to be honest. Like I save that crap for the Instagram comment section.
It ruins it. I don't know.
I mean, I will always enjoy watching a guy like Patrick Kane. Like I don't think I could ever not enjoy as a hockey fan. Like not even as a Predators fan, as just a general hockey fan. Patrick Kane is like he's extremely talented, and he's like he's Showtime. Like that's literally that's his whole mantra. And I don't think I could ever get really tired of. Yes. Oh, 100%. 100% good for the game. But yeah, no, the one guy. Okay, outside of Patrick Kane, a Predators mistake. Philip Kurashev, Nicholas Bodine. Those two guys. I am eager to watch them develop, just because it's something that I can. Boy, Lord knows, Father Time is approaching. But yeah, no, Kurashev, I think I take more interest with him just because I watched him this year, and he's just electric. He's a great skater. He scores goals. Like if you put him with the right line mates, I could 100% see him being like a 25 goal guy and like a 60 point player. Like he's that fun. I really like Philip Kurashev. That's probably the guy that I'm most interested in for the Hawks. And obviously Lankinen is fun. He's outside of his really good month, I think he's a good goalie. I don't know what that couple of months or however long that streak was of him being really good. I don't think that's him consistently, but I think he could be somewhere in the middle of where he was towards the end of the year and where he was at the beginning of the year. I think he's that number one that Chicago's been looking for since Crawford left.
Yeah, I kind of see him as kind of like a fringe, like number one kind of guy. I don't think he'll be like a true starter. But if they can get kind of a tandem going, like almost like what they had with Crawford and Leonard, I think that could work. Maybe even bring in like, I guess Bernier is kind of old, but just like somebody like that who can just kind of be a 1B. I think would help him out too. And again, somebody just to kind of add a bit more experience. Could be interesting. But yeah, I think his potential, yeah. Maybe not Colin Delia. But no, I think we talked about it a while back now on the podcast. But I think if he wasn't there at the beginning of the season, we're talking about Chicago as one of the worst teams in the NHL. This season, and obviously he did kind of even out, but the start that he had was really fun, and it was like you said, I'm excited for their future. Moving on to probably the quickest conversation that we're gonna have here, the Detroit Red Wings, if I can speak. This team has a ton of picks. Their roster isn't very good, and Steve Yzerman's their GM. Those are my thoughts on the Detroit Red Wings. That's what I got.
Well, that's very nice, I guess, of you to say. It was nice seeing Verona succeed there when he came over, but their whole team really revolves around what Yzerman's going to do this offseason. I hope he does well. I think we know that he'll do well, and that's really all there is to say about them.
So, yeah, I like what Steve Yzerman has done with the team. He's a magician. Him and Joe Sakic should be considered the top two GMs in the NHL. I love Jacob Vrana. I think he was an excellent pickup, and I think he not stole the trade from the Caps, but I think he won that trade. I really like what they're doing with their prospects. I'm not too familiar with their prospect pool. I haven't really looked into it. It's very good. And I would like to point out that that you, George, didn't say that Detroit was last. So that is something.
That's true.
They finally got out of in the league. That's improvement.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
especially from last year.
Could just drop back down, but you know. It's something positive about Detroit
Yeah.
for
Detroit
for the
has 11 picks in the first 3 rounds over the next 2 years.
my God.
They also won 2 more games this season than they did last year.
W.
So in like
One more shit. I should say WW just because.
20 games less. So that's a huge improvement for them. I think they had more overall points too. I just got rid of the standings though. But they also had 10 overtime losses. So they easily could have won an extra 3 or 4 games just out of luck. But yeah, I mean Detroit, really good prospect pool. They're gonna improve it. Even if Stevie Y can hit on 4 of those 11 picks, which I don't think is an unreasonable number, they're gonna be really good.
You could hit on even more than that.
No, yeah, I think that's definitely a low estimate. But if that's the minimum for what this team can get, if you can hit 4 good top 6 or top 4 player, top 4 defensemen or top 6 forwards, Detroit's gonna be really good. Now we can move on to one of the more the team that I was maybe my most interesting team of the NHL this year, the Columbus Blue Jackets, who were just this team was a roller coaster this season. Obviously, it started with the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade, and John Tortorella benching everybody, and it ended with John Tortorella mutually parting ways with the Blue Jackets. He is once again a free agent, and will definitely get another NHL job. Whether or not you think he's a good coach, he's somebody who's that old school type of guy that the fans like and a lot of owners like. And he will be back in the NHL, whether it's with Seattle or with Arizona or wherever he ends up going. But yeah, the Columbus Blue Jackets, Oliver Bjorkstrand, I think was clearing away their best player this season. He was so much fun to watch, and I had him in one of my fantasy leagues, and I got him in the final round, and he's been great. Yeah, I mean, Patrick Laine is basically what Patrick Laine's been for the last 3 years. And they're a team that needs a first-line center to play with those guys. And I think if they can find that, they could be interesting next season. But, yeah, I mean, Columbus, I guess, do we have any idea who they could hire as their head coach?
Talkett, maybe?
Yeah, I feel like Red Talkett's, the big name getting
I think he would help a lot with offensive game for them.
I think that's important too, with Domi and Laine. This team could be fun.
Seattle. I mean, if Seattle takes Torts, then they could get Gallant. Gerard Gallant.
That's true too. That could be a good signing. I think they're really a coach away, a coach and a first line center away from being a
Domi can be that first line center. You just need a better 1B.
Yeah, you have to get somebody to bet an actual an actual center behind
Hurdle. That could be
an option for them. That's a really interesting name. This has now become the Thomas Hurdle Rumor Mill podcast.
I mean, that's an option though.
Yeah, no, I don't think Thomas Hurdle would be that insane. I don't think the asking price for him would be crazy, especially with especially with Jack Eichel on the market. I
still think it would be it'd probably be a good prospect
and
plus
a pick.
a pick.
Yeah, they do have 3 first-round picks this year. So
yeah,
mind you, 2 of them are Tampa and Toronto. So
but still value.
There's value there. It's a bad draft, and those are going to be late picks. But yeah, I mean, maybe Toronto loses in the first round to Montreal, and that first turns into a decent mid-round pick. Yeah, I mean, Thomas Hurdle would be, I think, perfect for this. Thomas Hurdle and Patrick Laine would be so much fun. God.
Yeah, it would be. Glad to see that everyone knows that Seth Jones is overrated.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of.
Well, everybody's
got onto that
it's just
train.
been a bad year for him. So, Seth Jones, fan of the podcast, by the way. He's featured in a logo. So, there you go.
Seth Jones, noted 8-year, $11 million man, by the way. That is 100% what they're going to pay him, and I'm going to laugh
that's gonna be great.
So hard.
See,
it's going to be so funny.
That's not nice.
Honestly, if what Columbus should do this offseason is move him. And it'll never happen, but his even with the bad year this year, his value is still going to be insane on the market. And what they should do, honestly, this would be the perfect offseason for the Blue Jackets. You trade for Hurdle. Then you move Jones somewhere else. The Sharks aren't going to take Jones because they're rebuilding. And then you sign Dougie Hamilton. That's the offseason. And then you just go into next year. Like, that's it. And this team's really
That's great theory, but I don't see Hamilton leaving the Canes.
Probably not. But, I mean, you move Seth Jones money out. You could probably offer more money. I don't know what the cap situation is like for Carolina, but I'm assuming that they have less money than. Yeah, I mean, Columbus is gonna have $25 million cap space. The offer might be similar. I think that, like, in a perfect world, that would be my ideal offseason for the Jackets, right there. Just those two moves. That's it. And then you just go into next season with this team. And maybe you're lacking a bit on defense, but you have Dougie Hamilton, so.
I mean,
Maybe
they
really
could also
fun.
not take fourth rounders in the first round with their first round picks. That'd be nice.
Igor Chinakov. I will never get over how Jarmo Kekalainen pronounced his name. Not even like wrong. It's just the way he said it was like super funny. Like he spoke it. I mean, he was like did it with like a super Russian accent.
Yeah, and throw an offensive coach on this team, and the Jackets are really they're a super watchable team next season. I'm kind of intrigued to see what Jarmo does here. I think he's an interesting GM. I don't know if he's good. I haven't really made that decision yet, but he's really fascinating. Just with all the stuff he's done over the last 3 years, he's been super interesting.
I feel like Jarmo is just one of those guys that
he's gonna be there forever, right? This is like David Poile 2.0.
He's really good at taking advantage of the market. I don't know if he's good as an overall GM, but he's good at just having these little moments where he can come out on top. Like this trade deadline, he was wonderful.
Oh my god, it was great.
Really good.
Even the line.
But I just feel like he's just kind of super picky with his he's like a little shark, and it's just kind of there's moments where he can get to prey and he just picks at it, and then finally when he can get to it, he just dives in. I don't know, he's really intriguing.
He's Mark Bergevin, basically, is what you're saying.
Better than Mark Bergevin.
No, not what he's saying.
Well, no, but just in the being able to attack the trade market. I feel like Mark Bergevin wins every trade that he makes, but he just doesn't his team doesn't get better.
For the Domi deal.
And I feel like that's kind of yeah. But I mean, I feel that's basically Jarmo. It's just he wins a lot of the deals he's in, but his team just hasn't done anything, and he's gonna be here forever, just like Mark Bergevin. That's
David Poile.
I think it should be pointed out that Anderson and Domi have the same amount of points this year.
Yeah, and Josh Anderson's having a career year, and Max Domi stinks. So that's
that shows you.
There you go. I do think Max Domi with a new coach,
he's a great offensive player.
Especially I still believe, and I was on this with the Canadiens last season, where I really thought trading for Patrick Laine would have been perfect for them. I think Max Domi and Patrick Laine still have a ton of potential together, and with the offensive coach and those two together, I think Laine can get back to his elite goal scoring pace. I still believe that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, defense wouldn't be existent.
Yeah, but then you just throw even Bjorkstrand on the wing on that line, and
that'd be a fun line.
Oh god, that'd be Columbus could be so much fun next year. I'm here for it, to be honest with you.
But will they be that much fun? Probably not.
I really don't care if they're good. I just they'd be so much fun. They'd be watchable.
Yeah, except for the putting Domi on the third line.
Well, yeah, but yeah. Maybe they'll just hire Claude Julien to coach that team. God, could you imagine?
How about
not? So we'll move on here to the actual 16th team in the playoffs, the New York Rangers, who finished the season with a 27-23-6 record for 60 points, a .536 points percentage, and were by far the most fascinating team this season. Also, they finished 14th in the NHL, so they were the only team to finish in the top 16 that missed the playoffs this season. Just like what would happen last year. But yeah, the New York Rangers were the soap opera of the NHL this season. I don't even know if you guys remember this, but at the beginning of the season, Tony DeAngelo got into a fist fight with his backup goaltender. That happened this year.
That's pretty. It's so long ago, but yeah, I remember that.
Like,
Pretty funny.
that's how much shit's happened with the New York Rangers over the last season.
It's been a
like
year
5
for them.
months.
The Rangers this year
Holy
literally
shit.
could be a Broadway.
Like, I want ESPN to make
It's
like,
so
their first
ironic.
NHL 30 for 30 has to be on this year's New York Rangers. Like just over the past year, like just a calendar year. Holy shit.
And you thought things couldn't get any worse. We're gonna have some guy almost kill our superstar player and then get fined $5,000. And then the next game, we're gonna have our underrated player get
It's a fucking
suspended
line.
for doing something mildly, not even worse, just mildly bad. Because NHL player safety has problems just figuring out what the hell should be suspendable and what isn't.
Yeah, we're also going to lose. We're also going to get absolutely body slammed in a 24-team play-in round during a global pandemic, and then somehow end up with the first overall pick. And every team in the NHL is going to be so outraged, the league is going to change their draft lottery formula in the same year. Like, holy shit.
Unbelievable.
Then you had like the Henrik Lundqvist thing.
These guys,
Like, it's just this team was insane, and the fact that they've missed the
Really impressive.
playoffs, like, while being one of the best, like, probably 12 teams in the NHL, like, they were really fucking good this year too. Like, they really were. It's just why, like, this team was insane, and they're gonna be really good next year, hopefully. Well, maybe not, because they're gonna have basically the entire division that they're in right now in their division, so maybe they'll miss the playoffs again. Yeah. I guess we can like dive into their roster, but I think we kind of just covered it.
Yeah,
like, this team's
that's the New York Rangers, man.
Well, yeah, they're just wild. Oh, they also have Tenny Panarin, who was terrible this season.
He wasn't terrible.
Well, he
I mean, he
wasn't
kind of got
MVP.
rushed.
he wasn't terrible.
Terrible.
He had a
He was
rough
terrible
start.
for Panarin. Okay.
He had a rough start,
Yeah.
and then he got
He
brushed up.
got back into it as the year went
That's fair.
on,
That's
but
fair.
it just
Terrible was a strong word.
he started off really like
You need Mika Zibanejad.
terrible is like Seth Jones like verbiage.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No,
Like-
Seth Jones isn't terrible.
You're not
he's
kidding. You're not wrong either.
This team's just like it's a mess, and it's so much fun, and it's New York, so it's great. Like this couldn't have been any like it's like the biggest brand in sports, and I love it because it seems like every New York team has to go through this phase where they're just an absolute mess, like front office wise. And the Rangers also fired their GM and like assistant GM the day after the team put out a statement calling out the Department of Player Safety in the NHL. I forgot about that.
No, and
Like, holy shit.
To the every New York team has to go through this stage of like
Just
horribleness.
being terrible, yeah.
Every team owned by James Dolan has to go through this weird phase where he just gets involved with everything from like day-to-day operations to firing GMs and the presidents of like just God.
I do have
James
to say
Dolan's
though,
absolutely- he's a
the
dunce,
Chris Drury
but-
hiring is really interesting. I'm a big fan. I've always liked Chris Drury. I liked him as a player. I think he could be really, really good as a GM. I really like the way that he like just.
I'm not
the things that he
giving
said.
James Dolan a lot.
I'm giving Chris Drury credit. I think. Well, I mean, it was his role based on the position that he was in beforehand. I'm excited. I don't think he's gonna be the kind of GM who signs like or trades for Jacob Trouba or signs Jack Johnson. I think he's gonna be a really smart hockey guy, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Flyers were a team this year. They finished 25, 23, and 8 for a .518 points percentage. I believe they were the only team to finish 2 spots out of the playoffs to have a points percentage over 500, and they were. But they do this thing every year where they make the playoffs and they miss the playoffs. So next year, Philly's going to make the playoffs, guaranteed. Lock it in. Because Carter Hart's not going to be the worst goalie in the NHL.
Yeah,
And
they'll
I
probably
really
make
think
the
that's what
playoffs
it comes
next
down
year.
to with this team. Is Carter Hart stunk this year, and
Well,
that's
honestly one of the worst goalies in the NHL.
yeah.
Might have been the worst. He was terrible this year.
Do you guys think? This was a question I got. Um, do you think that the Flyers let Seattle take Nolan Patrick?
Mm,
Do they
I
just
don't
move
know.
off that
I feel like,
experiment? Because he's an RFA this year, so they'd have to sign him. I mean, that
but the
contract's not
thing
going to be
is,
big, but
they're gonna give him up if they did, like if they were to, and he'd become just amazing. But then if they keep on to him, he's just gonna keep getting hurt and stuff. I don't know. It's just gonna be one of those things.
I think first of all, I think if Seattle has the opportunity to take him, I think they should. I think he's more intriguing than like a Nicholas Aube-Kubel, who's a better player right now. But I don't think Aube-Kubel is gonna not
He
be
still
a
has
bottom
those
six forward.
potential.
Yeah, Nolan Patrick's really interesting.
I would, if I could, I would take him if I was Seattle.
Yeah, soda. But other than that, I mean, there's not a ton of big questions on this team going into tonight. Like, it's basically gonna be the same roster, and they're gonna make the playoffs. So, I mean, Carter Hart's gonna get probably a cheaper deal than he probably should because of how terrible he was this year.
I mean, it'll probably be good considering
well, it's still gonna be but it's
goalie
not gonna be
contracts
like
are ridiculous.
I don't see
It's
it.
not gonna be what we would have expected for sure.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, other than that, like, it's just the Flyers. Like, this team's they just are.
Should be a playoff team.
Yeah, they will be next year because they just make the playoffs. They've literally been doing that for like a decade. It's insane.
They're such an interesting team, and not in a good way. You know, like it's just
It's like the anti.
I don't even know I don't even know what to make of them. Like it's just
They don't really have any prospects either.
I don't
Right?
even know what to do from here. I mean, their picks look like they've got
they got some
guys coming up that are actually like
later, yeah, but not like immediate, like not like next year impact.
yeah.
I mean, Cam York.
Nah.
I didn't watch much of Cam York with the Flyers. Did he look good?
They also have like the most overrated defenseman in hockey. But
Overrated.
Yeah. I think Shane Gostisbehere probably gets moved this summer. He's an interesting name. I think. I mean, he was really just overplayed in the role that he was in. Like, he just wasn't a top like pair defenseman. But I think like as a second pairing, like fourth guy on a team, he could be an interesting add. Philly would probably have to eat a bit of that salary to make it work.
How much does he make?
He's at 4.5 right now, which isn't
For
like completely.
2 more years?
Yeah, 2 more years. But he cleared waivers, so I doubt teams want to take on that whole salary. But
I mean, 2 more years isn't
it's not terrible.
bad.
With a flat cap, though, I don't think any contending team's going to be.
Maybe like a bubble team that needs defensemen.
It's possible. I could see like Arizona kicking tires on him.
I feel like just for some reason that he would go to Winnipeg.
Yeah, because they totally need another offensive player who can't play defense at all. That's perfect. Actually, no, it's exactly what the Jets need. You're right.
But that's exactly what.
No, I 100%. I completely agree. I think the Jets will somehow just target him instead of.
The Jets want defensemen.
Yeah.
They like offense. They don't care about the defense.
I mean, there was a Canadiens rumor about him a little while ago, like a year ago.
Why?
What was that trade? It was something crazy too. It was like I think it was Deneau. I think it was like Philip Deneau for like Shane Gostisbehere, and it almost went. It was wild.
That'd been terrible.
Yeah, I think there'll be a market for Gostisbehere. They just don't play him as your top like second defenseman because he's not. But he could probably get back to that year that he had like a couple years ago.
60. He had 60 points, right?
Yeah, I could see him getting back to like a 45, 50-ish pace if you play him in the right situation. I think he still has that potential.
You play him as your 3.
And then just on the power play.
And top unit.
Yeah. On a decent offensive team, like I think like especially on a Jets, like oh my god,
he would put up so many points.
Oh yeah, he'd be crazy. But yeah, other than that, I mean, the Flyers they're going to be the Flyers, and they're going to lose some good like bottom 6 forward to Seattle, and they'll just find another one, and they'll be Philly.
The Flyers will flyer, man. All there is to say.
New Jersey is another team that we can kind of just fly through. I don't think the Devils are going to be too interesting this offseason. I still think a PK Subban move is intriguing for Seattle. I think I brought that up on the podcast because I think you can market PK. And he's only got 1 year left on his deal. I think he'd be kind of a good ambassador for the Kraken. I think if they can pull that off, it'd be.
It would have to be a trade and half salary retained or
Yeah,
something.
I mean, it's only like it's $9 million, but it would only be for 1 year. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle's willing to. And I mean, New Jersey has a ton of cap space, so I don't think they'd be opposed to just eating half of that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
they'd do it if they took half on.
They also don't really have to move him though. That's the thing, because like they have a ton of money. It depends on how aggressive they want to be though.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, Nico Hischier. I'm still waiting for the Nico Hischier breakout season. I feel like we've just kind of been hanging on that for like
His
2
rookie
years
year
now.
his rookie year was really good, but then
And then he's kind of like just been stagnant.
since then he's kind of been like, yeah.
Injuries help with that.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Hughes was really good this year.
Yeah, that's
Like,
what I was gonna say.
He broke out.
Hughes looked really.
Miles Wood had a really
Jack
start
Hughes
to the
just-
season too.
Jack Hughes didn't like break out. I don't think he just improved.
Yeah,
Like he didn't.
very similar to Kako actually. We didn't really touch on that, but
Yeah,
Kakko
they
had a
both
really
kind
good
of. They both kind of improved because they had shit seasons last year. I wouldn't say they broke out because I think we all expected them to improve, but they definitely exceeded my expectations for the season.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I mean, Nico Hischier, I think, is definitely like the biggest question mark here. If he can find that kind of second gear and kind of like jump up a level here, they could kind of turn this thing around. I mean, obviously losing, like not having Corey Schneider play for them hurt. I think that would have helped, but again, I still didn't see this team being very
Schneider?
good. Or Corey Crawford, my bad. Crawford.
Ferd, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was supposed to say Corey Schneider, noted
Yeah.
like the guy who didn't win for like 400
Like a
days.
year,
Something like
yeah.
that. It really hurt him that
It did really
hurt
hurt,
him
yeah.
that he didn't play.
But no, I think Ryan Murray's somebody this team should look to bring back. He's an interesting piece still. But yeah, I mean, the Devil again, not a really interesting team. I think they'll be not good next season. And yeah, and finally Buffalo in this division, who were terrible. 15-34-7. I think I saw somewhere that
Buffalo just kind of exists.
if you take the like the 18 game losing streak out of their schedule, they were like pretty much 500. So just erase like half their season.
Very impressive, Buffalo.
Very good.
Very impressive.
They had I think they still had a worse winning. No, I think they passed. Maybe not. I think this was still a worse winning percentage than they had the year they tanked for McDavid. It's 330. I can't remember what there was. I'm gonna look it up. But yeah, the Buffalo
So
Sabres.
bad.
Jack Eichel. Where's Jack Eichel going? Will he be a Buffalo Sabre next season?
I don't think he wants to be. I just don't see them getting a deal done, or they will get absolutely fleeced in the deal they do. I see him going to New York though, if anything.
Somebody's not going to match value for him. Like we know that, or somebody's going to like super overpay because Buffalo is going to overvalue Eichels, like just overvalue his importance. I mean, of course, I believe Buffalo should try and get as much out of it as they can, but they might push a little too hard, and that might cause problems in him getting moved.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in the mindset that unless Jack Eichel specifically walks into whoever the GM's office is and says, I want to be traded, Buffalo should hold on to him. Because unless the Rangers are offering you Lafreniere or the Kings are offering you Byfield, you're not going to get a better player back. You're going to get a bunch of like good assets, and you're not going to get Jack Eichel. And,
My biggest
that's
my
concern.
biggest fear for it is that Buffalo's gonna ask for so much, and then a team's gonna give them like Byfield plus like picks and another prospect or something stupid.
Yeah, I mean, good for them.
Like I could honestly see that happening.
So I don't know if I could see the Rangers moving off of like Kakko more than I could see the Kings
Byfield?
moving off of Byfield.
Yeah,
Just
But
because like,
Kakko's
the
just
Rangers are
gonna be-
closer.
but Lukaku would just be just as good in his prime.
I wonder if the Ranger. I wonder if Buffalo would take on like a Trouba contract if the Rangers threw in like Buchnevich, Kakko, and like a first.
That'd be a lot though. That's a lot to give up, even though you're getting out the
You're still getting
Trouba deal.
Jack Eichel though. Like you're still getting a number one center. Like you got
Yeah.
You're getting a
Panarin
guy
and
who's
Eichel for
pro-
8 years.
if I'm Buffalo, I'm giving up a guy who's a proven top at 15 center at the least.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kako's good, but you're trading a guy who still is relatively unknown for a guy who's proven himself to be a top tier talent and a true number one center.
But to
So I
give
mean,
up
if I'm
all those
Buffalo,
other
I am milking
assets,
that to the bud and just what?
like from the Rangers side,
Oh, from the Rangers side, yeah,
yeah, if you're to give up
yeah,
all
you're
those
giving up,
assets.
yeah. Because I
But
mean,
if you're
it's just
Buffalo,
I
you
feel
that
like that's what's going to be a problem. It's like a disconnect between the two teams, like
Buffalo wants too much.
superstars.
Okay, let me
Tough.
throw this out for you. I feel like this is a really good comparison. So the first player I'm going to list here, these are his, I guess, third, fourth, and fifth years in the NHL, which is about where Jack Eichel is right now. This guy had 75 points, 72 points, and 94 points. Would you trade him for a guy who's in his these are his second, third, and fourth season, so he's a bit younger? Who had 40 points, 60 points, or 7 points in his first season in 55 games, 41 points and 60 points. So that's kind of like your Kakko, Lafreniere ish first overall pick. For a guy who's more proven, who basically has put up 94 points already in a season as a first line center. That's essentially the offer here from the Rangers.
Isn't the one player
the first big first line center player is Alexei Yashin, and the younger
Nathan
prospect
McKinnon.
is Joe Thornton.
Joe Thornton.
Those are the exact same seasons that they were taught. So it's basically like you're trading Joe Thornton for Alexei Yashin after 2 years of Thornton playing in the NHL.
Well, now you're just hell no.
I feel like that's not a terrible comparison for this though, because Yashin was legitimately the season after that he had 88 points. He was legitimately a top line center and was looked at.
And how many did Thornton have the year after?
He had 71 his fourth year in 2001. So I feel like that's not a terrible. I feel like that's similar to where a Lafreniere would be right now, because I know that's a name that's getting thrown around here too, which is insane. But that's the risk here, right? If you're giving up a Byfield or a Kakko, yes, you're getting the better player today, but there's a very good chance that Jack Eichel fizzles out in 5 years, and there's a very good chance that somebody like Lafreniere or Byfield don't. And obviously with prospects it could go either way, but I don't think the Yashin for Thornton comparison here is terrible in that case, and could be a very good possibility. Also, I guess the other question for Buffalo is, do you want Kevin Adams making this trade?
No. Probably not.
Yeah,
or no, you definitely don't want that happening.
I feel like probably not is the correct answer here. Moving on here finally to the Scotia North Division. The Calgary Flames, who with 52 games played, this is the division that hasn't played nearly as many games as everybody else. 52 games played, 23, 26, and 3, 49 points, 471 points percentage. They are missing the playoffs. They are kind of a mess, to be honest with you. My take on the Flames is they kind of need to just tear this thing apart, because they're not going to win with the Monahan-Gaudreau core, and I don't want to waste Tkachuk. So if I'm running this team, I'm moving off both those guys if you can this summer, which is aggressive, but I think necessary in this case.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I think they could both fetch big returns. And then Calgary really doesn't have many prospects, 2 or 3.
That's the other thing too. Yeah, they don't.
So if they could go through maybe 2 to 4 years of rebuilding with those big returns for Gaudreau and Monahan, I feel like that would help them a lot. Because Tkachuk would then be 26, 27. So he would still be relatively young to play.
And he'd still have Mange
help
too.
You win. Yeah.
Who was fantastic this season.
That's probably a move then, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's what I would. I mean, I don't know what the market is like for Monahan at this point. because I think a lot of people are kind of realizing he's not a like good top 6 center. Somebody would bite on it though.
The NHL definitely thinks he's a elite center. GMs,
I don't know if I'd say I don't know if there's a lot of GMs think he's elite. I think there's GMs out there who think he'd still be a good like fringe first line center, but I mean he's only 26 too. Like it's not like he's old.
Yeah, you'd be surprised by like, I mean Jim Benning probably thinks he's the next whatever. So there's that. But I don't know how much you'd get. I bet you get a first round at least.
You probably could, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I mean, if like Barclay Goodrow can get a first round pick,
yeah, Sean Mann
should really get a first round pick. But it's weird because like teams overpay for like these weird like bottom 6 forwards all the time, but they never like
go
overpay
after
for
the big
like
top 6 guy.
actual like good player.
Yeah, I don't know. The NHL's weird. You never know.
The Flames are really, really weird. To be honest, I don't even know what I'd do with them.
Yeah,
it's like no, I think the Flames are the team that like bamboozle me the most. Like they're just really. They have a couple good players. They've got a good goalie, Markstrom's solid. They got Giordano, who's probably gonna retire soon.
Yeah, maybe.
And then I mean, Tanev was good this year. Like it's just, yeah, but I mean, good. Like it seems like every guy that goes there like figures out a way to underperform. It's just except I mean, Tanev was pretty good, but like Daryl Sutter sucks. Like I just like.
Yeah, I think their winning percentage actually went down since they hired him, or it was for a bit. I don't know if like because they went on that bit of like a hot streak there, like a couple weeks ago. So like maybe it shot back up again. But I mean they also have like Mark Bergevin as their GM, so you know like
a worse version.
Yeah, like there's just so many of those now. Like just looking through these middling teams, there's like one thing in common. It's like all their GMs just have no plan. Like you're either really really bad, or your GM doesn't have an actual plan. Like that's the NHL.
Or you're like Vancouver, your GM doesn't have a plan
and he sucks.
You're really really bad.
Yeah, I mean that should be the off-season goal for the Flames is just figure out where you want this team. Because like even if they just kind of run it back, it's going to be another middling year, and you might make the playoffs because you're in the Pacific, but then you're gonna get steamrolled by Vegas. Like it's good for you. So yeah, they're a hard team to read. I think tearing it down is probably the best move. And by tearing it down, I mean move Monahan and Goudreau exclusively, and then just get assets and kind of rebuild this thing on the fly.
Don't sign anybody to stupid contracts.
Yeah, hope Seattle takes Lucic. There you go. That's the plan.
Yep.
The Ottawa Senators, 55 games played, so they still have one more to go. I think it's tomorrow that they play that game, or the day after. But anyway, 22, 28, and 5, 49 points, 445 points percentage. Ottawa is basically the LA Kings of the North Division, I feel, where they were fun to watch this season. They kind of performed better than I thought they would. And they have a ton of really good young talent coming up. And Victor Mete. So
they've got really good young talent and Victor Mete.
They also have the best defenseman in the NHL.
Victor Mete.
It's waiting to happen. But no,
he was legitimate.
Like, he was good.
He was really good. He was good when he came over. I mean,
he's good in Montreal too, but they just didn't play him right.
Yeah, but
he's too small for them.
Just funny because all their forwards are like below 6 feet.
Old Edmondson.
I like their big defensemen, big headers.
But yeah, the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah,
I guess the big question
I
is
love
how close
Ottawa.
are they to breaking out?
The playoffs?
Yeah.
It's 3 years away.
They're gonna need a little bit more time.
I think it was. I think it was Jay Fresh that pointed this out on Twitter. He asked, like, you look at the Sens core and, like, what do you like? Do you see an actual, like, legitimate cup team?
No.
And
No.
the example that he
I
gave is
laughed
like,
at that.
this is literally the Montreal Canadiens. That's what this team is.
Yeah.
Like, Brady Tkachuk is Brandon Gallagher, where he's going to be like a 50-ish point guy, like 50, 60 points, like good heart and soul guy. Then they just have a bunch
guy
of, like,
that
B prospects.
Drives crazy XG.
Yeah, like that's...
Yeah.
Hey, I wouldn't say Stitzel's a B prospect.
Well, no, but I
Yeah.
mean, he can be
That's
your,
the only
like...
thing Montreal didn't have was a Tim Stützle.
That's fair. That's fair.
But then
But
the
he can be
problem
like
with
that can be
Ottawa
your
is-
prime price comp.
Yeah.
Like,
But the problem
I
with
also think Jake
Ottawa is,
Sanderson's
like,
better than you're probably giving him credit for. While I don't think he was the right pick at 5, I think he's a really, really good defenseman.
he
And I
is,
watched
but
him a
that's
fair bit with North Dakota this year, and he was electric.
yeah, he was
Like
really good
he
in
didn't
college
like
this season.
in that 5 overtime game, it looked like he was yeah, I mean he in that 5 overtime game it looked like he hadn't lost a step. Like it was the 5th overtime and he was skating like it was the first period. Like he was unbelievable. He's really well conditioned. He was solid for the US team at the World Juniors. He wasn't great, but he wasn't like terrible by any means. I mean I think pick at 5, like I said, I still like what he has. I also don't think that Montreal had a Jake Sanderson as far as like when they were at this stage, I guess.
But the problem with that
But,
is, like,
yeah.
yeah, he's a great defenseman. But at 5, like, say Rossi was still there.
Jamie Drysdale
He's
was still there.
definitely the guy you take. Yeah.
Like,
I would take.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I'm just
no, yeah, no,
He is
I'm
a
just
great
saying I don't
defenseman.
think I still
he's
think
not terrible.
he's still really good. I just don't like
is
the
top-
pick. I don't
he's
think
the
the
top
pick
two
was right, but
defenseman
he's
potential.
still a good defenseman.
Okay, well, if you
Yeah.
want a Montreal Canadiens comp, Mikhail Sergachev.
Yeah, I was about to say Sergachev is probably the closest.
Yeah, I feel like that's not insane.
But why take him over Rossi? They need the one center.
I don't know.
Rossi's that guy. And I feel
Because
like
8 teams picked guys over Rossi. The Buffalo Sabres picked Jack Quinn.
I
Buffalo
know.
Sabres
over
watched
Rossi.
the Ottawa 67s this year, and we're like, yeah, Jack Quinn is better.
it just doesn't make sense for Ottawa. They have
Insane.
Ottawa has so many good defensemen, or not so many. They have 2, like, just fill out the top pair. Shabbat and Brandstrom. They can both be the top 2 guys.
And
there.
Mete and Zub are not like terrible. Like
Exactly.
tough. I mean, Mete was their best expected goals against defenseman this year by a wide margin. Granted, he's only played 13
I guess
games,
you
but
can never really have too many good defensemen. I guess would be my thing.
But you can
Like,
never not have an
Nat,
elite
like-
center for your cup contender.
hey, what's another
having-
team
I
that's
mean,
been looking
yeah,
for number
having
one center
watched-
for 10 years?
Having watched Nashville and being a Nashville fan for as long as I can remember, a team with like we've never really had a number one center. I mean, we've had guys that are like 1A, 1B,
Yeah.
but like never like a true elite number one center. I mean, we can't even get guys to score a decent amount of points, but like the Preds have, I mean, Ekholm, Subban, and Yossi and Ellis was so good.
God, that team was fun.
Like it was legit, like so fun to watch. Even the year they didn't go to the final, like that President's Trophy winning regular season, that team was an absolute joy to watch. And I think if Ottawa can even get like half of that, like I think they could really. And if they get a forward this year or next year, like if they continue to suck and they get some solid forward prospects either in later rounds that develop or in the first round if they get the right pick, I think that it could really help them to have picked Sanderson, even though I don't think he was the best defenseman available.
I feel like Matthew Benners would just like fit perfectly on this team.
Yeah,
Like if I had to
oh
plot
my
anybody
God.
in for Ottawa here, like that would be the ideal pick for me. Now, like he
He'd
might
be
go
so
first, and he might go like 7th. So like, so we
Yeah,
don't know if he'll be available. But
Altu Ratty might be available at like 16 or
Yeah.
17. Like
Yeah, I don't know. This
Even if
draft's
the
wild.
if a team like the Preds or even like they got out of the playoffs early and they were like the 15th team and Ratty dropped, like, dude, I'm screaming at those teams to take Ratty at like 15 or 16 if he's still available.
Yeah, and he might be. 'Cause this
Like,
draft's
it's such a
wild.
weird year, and any guy could go anywhere, especially with like Owen Powers. Yeah, like Owen Powers stock, like
He's
people
gonna
are
go
saying that
number
he might
one.
go one,
He's going one.
and I mean that could change everything.
I 100% think he's going
That,
number
that
one.
annoys me, but like,
And it's gonna be
I
Buffalo.
mean,
It's
yeah,
gonna be
I mean,
hilarious. It's gonna be so funny.
it's gonna ruin another franchise. Not they're gonna ruin another defenseman.
That's absolutely
Yeah.
the Sabres pick, though, right? Like it's gonna be Owen Power.
I mean,
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%.
I feel like the only way he doesn't go first is if Vancouver picks there.
Or Detroit gets the pick. Like, there's no way Steve Eisman takes Owen Power, right?
Steve Yzerman, I would 100% expect Yzerman to take Eklund.
Yeah, or Lysell or whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Lysell. Dude, Ottawa with Lysell. Oh my God, that would be so fun. Any of the forwards that like Eklund, Lysell, or Beniers, any of those three guys would be excellent.
So yeah,
I
we
think
The shot that they get them, like,
Well, yeah, but again, like all those guys could be available at like 10. So
Owen Power
yeah,
is like such a Jim Benning pick at first,
yeah.
but
Speaking
like
of Jim
it
Benning,
won't happen. It won't happen because he has too much pressure to pick Luke Hughes. That's the
oh
only
god,
reason
yeah, no.
why.
If the Canucks get the first overall pick, they're taking Luke Hughes 100%.
There's no way they
There's
don't.
no reason they don't. Like it's gonna be
There's
even
no
if the
way
Devils get the first
Vancouver.
overall pick, like they're taking Luke Hughes too.
Yeah, there's no way Vancouver doesn't walk out with Luke Hughes unless the Devils pick in front of them.
Yeah,
It's the only way it doesn't happen.
it's the Sedin brothers, baby. Run it back.
Watch
but like
Jack Hughes
defensemen.
come over. Watch Jack Hughes come over. He will.
if the
It'll
Devils
happen.
don't pick Luke Hughes, Vancouver will. It's gonna be one of
And
those
then
two teams.
Jack Hughes will come over.
I want it to be Vancouver
Jack
just so we can
Hughes
run
will
the
come
Sedin
over.
twins thing, like just run it back. The next generation, it'll be hilarious. But yeah, the
That's
the
a
Vancouver
problem
Canucks, we're also a team this season. They've
Yeah.
only played 50 games, so
What
this
a
record
team.
could get better.
What a team, man.
21, 26, and 3 for 45 points. 450 points percentage. Currently below the Senators, but only back by 4 points, and they do have 6 games remaining. So they could pass Ottawa. Vancouver's kind of had a bit of turmoil this season, just with like the whole COVID thing. They lost a lot on this roster last season, and it doesn't look like that's going to get any better because they still don't have any money. Yeah. Jack, do you want to start us off here?
Well, what I like to say is that Benning, well, he's a special guy. That's for sure. Honestly, I feel like Vancouver could build a dynasty with all the young skill they have, but when you got Jim Benning leading their way, just there's no hope for anyone that the team will be better than a playoff team. It sucked to see Peterson get injured. He was playing pretty well. Other than that, watching Quinn Hughes play defense was probably the worst thing I've ever had to experience. The only bearable Canucks player was Niels Hoglander this year.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna defer to Jack on this one. I don't even think I need to say anything.
Yeah. I think there was that post going around a little while ago about how like Toffoli like basically
George, I don't want to hear it.
that
I can't handle this pain anymore, man.
Oh yeah. Tyler Toffoli is all that's my
all
take
that
on
needs to be
on the
said.
Vancouver Canucks.
Tyler Toffoli.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is the Peterson and Hughes RFA issue here, because they're probably gonna pay Quinn Hughes a lot of money, and somebody's gonna pay Elias Pettersson a lot of money.
Vancouver will.
It'll probably be the Canucks, but I like to think the Wild are going to make an offer because Kaprizov and Peterson would be a lot of fun. I know you don't want to hear that, but that could be
It's
fun.
not going to happen.
It won't happen.
Kaprizov has to be signed too.
Well, the NHL also is like incredibly boring, so it's not going to happen.
It's just so much you get back. Like, I don't think the Wild would want to give up those for the 4 first, even though Peterson's 100% worth more.
Yeah.
It's just not something that ever happens.
No, it's crazy. I mean, we'll get into the more RFA stuff in the off season. Like, just we can make a whole episode about how that rule is dumb and should be changed. But I think Pedersen's going to be a Canuck next season.
If I was a team, I'd be so aggressive with one of those RFAs. I would offer them like $7 at $10 million. It would panic Vancouver so much. And then Benning would probably trade one of them away for nothing.
I mean, the Canucks, they're here. And Jim Benning is probably going to have his job next season. I think didn't they extend him, actually? What are they talking about?
No. They extended Tanner Pearson instead, George.
Well, no, I know. I'm aware.
That was our pride and joy. Tanner Pearson just needed that contract.
It's good old Canadian boy, so yeah. So Jake.
Yeah, I mean, don't want to talk about that guy.
All right. Well, I guess with that we can end this episode. This was definitely a longer one. So hopefully you enjoyed. It was kind of rambly, but hey, that's what you come here for.
I'm so tired.
Yeah. I mean, it's been like an hour and a half. So yeah, where can they find you guys?
Well, you guys can find me on Instagram at NHL_analysis_. I got links in my bio to all the places I write. And I actually have some news to break here. I'm not sure if Jack saw it, but I posted it in one group. I posted it in one group chat.
Hell yeah, baby!
I did see it.
This fired me up.
I was just hired as a contributor. I was just hired as a contributor.
Right.
Oh, really?
Screw that news. Fuck that. Let's talk about how you posted.
What did you think I was going to say?
Substack again, baby. The Substack's
back. I did post on my Substack again.
Louis.
Yes, I did.
Beautiful.
Louis Erickson. Definitely check it out.
Show that.
Yeah.
Substack's back.
I did post on my Substack again, so you guys can check that out. But yeah, I just got hired as a contributor at an SB Nation site for the Preds called On the Forecheck. Hopefully getting some stuff out there soon. So that's another place that I'm writing that I'll add to the little resume.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, On the Forecheck, Last Word on Sports, and the Hockey Writers. You can find all my stuff on there.
I don't know how you do it, man. Honestly.
I don't know how I do it either, to be honest.
Wild. I mean, good for you, honestly.
Jeff's just that good,
man. No, but you guys can find that stuff in my bio on my Instagram account. You can follow my Twitter at JJMeadow4. So yeah, that's all I got.
Well, it's gonna be short this time, like always.
Yeah.
This time.
I'm tired. So, you guys can find me
it's short this time.
Instagram and Twitter.
Oh, Twitter! There you go. Plug the Twitter.
There we go.
Yeah, and MBI Hockey on Instagram. Nothing but Iron One on Twitter. I do have some stuff in the works though, so maybe I'll be plugging more than just the IG Twitter coming up. But we'll see. It's a little teaser for you guys. But yeah, thank you for listening. I know this episode was lengthy, but again, we wanted to kind of cover the teams that we don't really talk about a whole lot because a lot of these teams aren't very interesting this season. Next week, we'll be doing our playoff predictions because the entire bracket should be locked in, or it should be at a point that we can just kind of assume. And then we have a fun game thing for next week as well. So stay tuned for that. And then we have a guest the week after, probably. It's a lot of big things coming up. Anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.